Kwame Mamdani.
Zohran Mamdani.
So how in the world does a 34-year-old Democratic socialist become the mayor of New York City? Well, it starts with a social media strategy so good it turned online buzz into a real-world political phenomenon. We're going to break down the story of Zohran Mamdani and figure out how he earned the title of the internet's mayor. It all kicked off with moments just like this one. To get people talking about a rent freeze, Mamdani literally jumped into the freezing cold waters of Coney Island in January, all for a simple, unforgettable pun. I mean, this is not your typical political ad, right? It was playful, it was kind of absurd, and it was absolutely perfect for cutting through all the noise online. So how did tactics like that actually lead to a stunning win? This was, no joke, a social media upset, and it was all driven by this laser focus on a group of people that most politicians just can't seem to reach: young, online, and, let's be honest, often politically checked out New Yorkers. See, Mamdani's campaign brought something really important about life today. A lot of young voters are just stuck doom-scrolling through an endless feed of bad news. The campaign's goal was to basically jump into that scroll, swap out the despair for a little bit of joy and possibility, and then channel all that energy straight into political action. And wow, did it work. The scale of his success was just staggering. Get this, according to an Associated Press poll, 75% of New York City voters under 30 cast their ballot for Mamdani. He didn't just win that demographic, he completely dominated it. His whole campaign was this series of creative, super visible stunts that were like part performance art and part policy talk. On top of the polar plunge, he'd go to food trucks to talk about halalflation, connecting city permits to the rising cost of food. And he walked the entire length of Manhattan just to show New Yorkers he was one of them, a mayor you could literally just run into on the street. Okay, so what exactly was the secret sauce here? What was the playbook? Let's deconstruct the specific pieces that, according to the experts, made his social media campaigns so incredibly effective. At its heart, it all came down to being authentic. As Professor Jane Hall points out, it's not enough to just be young. You have to talk about what people actually care about, and you have to do it in a way that feels real and exciting. Mamdani's campaign created this bandwagon effect, making people feel like they were joining this vibrant, winning movement. You could almost call it the Mamdani method. Professor Jack Bratich defines it as this really unique mix of fun and seriousness. He could post a hilarious video 1 minute and then, boom, pivot to a really deep discussion on housing policy the next. It created this image of a candidate who was not only joyful, but also super committed to the actual issues. And this approach is in such sharp contrast to other political figures. Professor Stromer Galley notes that while someone like Donald Trump often leans into negativity and conflict on social media, Mamdani's strategy was built on positivity. It was all about building a community, not just tearing down his opponents. But here's the thing, winning an election is one thing, actually running the city is a whole other ballgame. And this brings us to the huge challenge Mamdani is facing right now. The fun of the campaign is over, and the tough realities of governing, complete with some very powerful opposition, are just getting started. And that opposition was fierce. During the campaign, then-President Donald Trump did not hold back, calling Mamdani an extremist lunatic and even threatening to cut off federal funding to the city if he won. The stakes could not have been higher, but Mamdani's response on election night? It was just as fiery. He looked right at the president and delivered this message of solidarity. It sent this powerful signal to his supporters that, yeah, he was ready for a fight. It was a defiant, passionate moment that really captured the spirit of his whole campaign. But you can't run a city on defiance alone, right? You can't fix subways or pass budgets with just fighting words. Governing needs a different skill, pragmatism. And in a really surprising twist, Mamdani and Trump had this unexpectedly friendly first meeting. It kind of suggested that the new mayor knew he had to find a way to work with a hostile administration to actually get things done for his city. And this is the tightrope he has to walk now. Professor Iwana Literot warns that if his social media keeps promising these huge, sweeping changes without being honest about the real-world political roadblocks, he risks losing the very same voters who put him in office. That viral energy that got him elected, it could turn into backlash just as fast. Which brings us to the final and most critical question. The campaign built up this massive wave of momentum, but can he actually keep it going now that he's in City Hall? So experts point to three major hurdles. First, he's got to navigate that hostile federal government. Second, he has to make the often, let's face it, boring work of day-to-day governing feel just as exciting as the campaign. And third, he has to educate his whole new base of voters on how complicated city government actually is, so they get why change can be so slow. But Mamdani has a huge ace up his sleeve. His social media wasn't just about getting likes and views. It was a powerful organizing tool. His campaign mobilized over 100,000 volunteers. That's a massive built-in grassroots network that could be a serious force for his administration. And we're already seeing this in action. His volunteers have started a brand new advocacy group called Our Time for an Affordable NYC, and its whole purpose is to use that army of organizers to make calls, knock on doors, and pressure lawmakers to pass the mayor's agenda. This could be the real key to keeping that momentum alive. In the end, though, it all comes down to this. Mamdani's rise gave us this hopeful new model for getting people involved in politics. The risk, as Professor Literat puts it, is that if the internet's mayor can't deliver on his promises, he could end up creating a new wave of cynicism among the very same voters he worked so hard to inspire. It would basically send the message that even their guy couldn't change the system. So the stakes aren't just about one mayor's term, they're about the future of youth political engagement itself. So here's the real question. Will the internet's mayor actually deliver an affordable New York, or will this just be the biggest case of viral hype meeting harsh reality? Drop your honest take in the comments. Team Mamdani or Team Skeptic? And if you're under 30, did his campaign actually make you vote for the first time? Hit like if you want him to succeed, dislike if you think he'll crash and burn. Let's see what the internet thinks now that he's actually in charge.